Welcome to the HIV podcast. Each week we focus on a person, historical event or pop culture moment linked to HIV and explore the story of what actually happened. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jess, and between us we've been working in the field of HIV for 40 years. Our aim is to get as many people as possible HIV educated.
Welcome to the HIV podcast.
That was lovely Zoe who's just started with us.
Yep, and we thought the first thing we'd do to make her feel really comfortable in her new job was get her to announce the podcast.
Yay.
You're loving it, aren't you? Crouched next to my desk.
Go a bit closer.
Yes.
Sorry, Zoe, but we very much appreciate it.
No worries.
Okay,
Thank you. So
fantastic.
Zoe's going to be listening to the edited podcast before we release it.
Yeah, she's taking lovely Lauren's place. So we need to think of something that not rhymes with Zoe, that starts with a Z also, that's like lovely Lauren. So we'll have to think of that.
Yeah, that's not the easiest letter.
What's your middle name?
I don't have one.
Can we give you one?
Yeah, feel free.
Felicity.
Felicity, did you
Fabulous
say?
Felicity. Well, that's a bit of a mouthful, actually, isn't it? Because
Perfect.
I can't use Zoe anymore because it doesn't.
It's boring.
Well, it's not boring. It's a nice name, but
Well, I
what-
like the name.
like
Yeah.
Zany Zoe or
There's nothing with a Z, is
no.
there? Yeah,
No.
I'll take Felicity. That's my new name.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. New job, new name. It's just what you want, isn't it? We won't torture you any longer.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
I'll be back anytime.
People are like that when they start a new job, aren't they? A few weeks, she'll be like, no, I'm not guesting on this.
Not for
Shambles
me,
of the
thank you.
podcast.
Not for me, but yes, perfect. Well, wonderful to have
Fabulous.
Zoe on today. Right, what do I have? Let's see. Right, in exciting news, you probably saw, Sarah.
Oh,
173
did we explain
countries.
the setup, by the way?
Sarah is back in her
Agree.
blanket fort. So back in the office because she's training Zoe. And she is back in her blanket fort. So for anyone who's watching a video clip on Instagram or is having a little look at what on earth is happening on TikTok, that is what is going on. It's Sarah's DIY sound booths. Get in touch with her for a quote.
Yes. I also have a droopy blanket. I don't look. You can see here.
Oh,
I don't
well,
know
don't
how to
poke
stop
it.
this.
She's poking her setup. It's all just going to fall down any
It
second.
is, yeah, but it's just very limp.
Yes, isn't it? How very apt for this podcast. Anyway, I don't know if you saw this week, but very exciting time, Sarah. 173 countries.
So what's the new country? Do you know? I ask you this every time and you're like, I haven't been through the whole list.
You do ask me every time. I don't have exactly what the new country is because what I can see is a whole number of the amount of countries that we are downloaded
okay,
in, that we are listened to in. And it suddenly jumped up to 173, which I was like, this is amazing. Imagine if we take over the whole world soon. You've always talked about world domination, but I thought, interestingly, why don't we have a look at our top 10 countries that we are most listened to in?
Oh, okay. Yep, let's go for it.
We'll go number one, actually, to start with. Where would you assume that we are the most listened to, like our most popular country?
England.
Yeah, right, because this is where
That's where we're based.
This is where the podcast is based. Of course. It's not, though. It's not, I know.
Is it Paraguay?
Yeah, constantly number one in Paraguay with like 5 listeners. No, it's the United States, America.
Is it?
Yeah, by a country mile. That is we are most downloaded in America. Yeah, I know, crazy.
Fabulous.
So the UK is actually second on the list. That's sort of no surprise because, you know, behind America, and obviously America's big, much bigger population. And apparently they just can't get enough of the HIV podcast. Then number 3 is Mexico.
Mexico.
Over that side of the world, because number 4 is Canada. And then again, we're staying around that whole side of the world with Honduras.
Welcome to the people there.
Don't have to welcome them, Sarah. They're on board. They're in the top 10. They're number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 5th. They're our 5th country with the most listeners that listen.
Okay.
To us. Then we're going to go down under, baby, to Australia.
Australia. I was going to say Australia's got to be in there.
Yeah, but I don't know if you'd get the last few. So then Dominican Republic.
But I mean, the Dominican Republic is tiny.
No, but it's the amount of downloads. These are our top 10s.
Wow.
Consistently, yeah. Then the Philippines.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Then we've got Jamaica.
Again, very small country. Is it that there are a few people downloading?
No,
It's
these are
constant.
lots. These are thousands of downloads. And then in at number 10, Vietnam.
Oh.
I know. So there you go. there's our top 10. I just thought it might be interesting for everyone to have a little insight into where we are most popular.
Oh, let's do a tour.
A world tour.
Well, let's start in America and Mexico. We can stop off in the Dominican and Jamaica.
Okay. Well, we could probably do Canada and Honduras as well, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We're around there. I'm on board, Sarah. World tour. Absolutely.
Okay, Zoe, make that happen.
Amazing. Also, I had someone who told me that in B&M there is now a chocolate button selection box. So run, don't walk, Sarah, is what I'm saying.
Is it all right just to tell me and not present me with something like that?
Oh, you wanted me to... Oh, I see. You wanted me to actually just have like sent them to you or something. Well, no, but remember, our listeners are thinking of you. They're literally sending it, and they said they're in B&M. Sent me a picture and everything. So thank you, Stuart, who sent that over the weekend.
Oh, I like that people are looking for variations of chocolate buttons because it's very much needed. There's, we're busy. There's a lot of chocolate buttons being consumed at the moment. So this is very thoughtful. Thank you.
Exactly. And also he sent us a link that was all around. I had asked about what happens if people don't have health insurance, what goes on with that. He sent a link through explaining that a bit further. So I was like, how nice that someone, bothered to send us that information over.
Oh,
I know. I love our listeners. Perfect. What do we have today?
Are you done?
Yes.
Seamless as ever.
That's all I've got, Sarah. It's like a machine gun of information where I can't stop talking and you definitely can't get a word in edgeways. And then I'm like, I'm spent. I've got nothing else. Going to sleep now.
Okay, this week is last week looking at the American porn industry.
I can't believe we're already at episode 5.
I know, it's gone quick, isn't it?
Honestly, when I thought we were going to, I was like, oh no, I think there's still 2 more left. And I looked at the calendar. I thought, no, already over.
So this week we're looking at John C. Holmes, who is reputed to be the most famous of all porn stars. We're taking the majority of our info from Wikipedia this week. And I know you said last week you'd named somebody else. So he might not be the most famous, but he's one of the most famous.
Yeah, but do you know, Ron Jeremy is just more, he's probably infamous, right? Well, some not nice stuff came out about him, but I don't know, like I said before, I think Ron Jeremy sort of crossed over into sort of slightly more mainstream. He'd do like cameos in films and things like that, which is why I'd heard of him. So I haven't heard about John Holmes, but I like anyone that self-professes that they are the most famous person of that industry. Why not? We should start doing that around HIV.
We're the most famous, we're not the most famous people.
We are the most famous podcast, we're not, allegedly, about HIV.
Oh, well, John's name came up a lot when I was doing the research for the kind of series. And if we want to look at why he's most well known or why he thinks he's most well known or other people have backed up that claim, it's partly because he did lots of porn films, 573 to be precise.
That is a lot.
That is a lot. But he is best known for the fact that he had an exceptionally large penis.
How large are we talking?
Well, do you know, there's no documented measurements for length or how girthy he was. It might be evident if you watch.
Did he write this? Can I just stop you? Is this a bit like him saying, I'm the most famous porn star? Did he was biggest penis ever? No measurements. It can never be beaten, can it? Or proved.
But I've not seen his films. Maybe if you watch one of his films, it'll be very, be self-evident. He's enormous. Wikipedia says John Holmes was to the adult film industry what Elvis Presley was to rock and roll. He simply was the king. That's quite a claim.
What? I'm going to Google this. I'm going to Google John Holmes' penis. Do you want to see how big it is?
No, I do not.
Oh, I do.
I've checked on Google and it says that it was 14 inches long. But I don't know if that was erect or not.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Oh.
Is that flaccid, do you think? That is massive.
I don't know. So Google says 14 inches long, but surely that can't be erect because that must, I don't know.
I don't know because...
you couldn't have a flaccid 14-inch penis. Imagine if you got erect, it would be like a lightsaber. You'd just topple over.
And sometimes people are a grower, not a shower. So maybe he was a shower, not a grower, right? So he didn't really get loads bigger, it just filled.
But
Oh.
all of that blood going down to that one
You'd
area.
faint, wouldn't you? You'd pass out.
Yeah. No.
Maybe that's what happened every time he had sex.
I don't know.
A massive erection, he just passed out.
And that was the end of the film.
Yeah, yeah, that was it.
Okay, well, John's career began in the late 60s. He wasn't working, he was recovering from a collapsed lung. And he was going to this men's card playing club. I mean, it's the 60s, so that was kind of the more popular back then.
Okay.
And in that club, he met a photographer. It wasn't arranged. They were standing next to each other in the urinals. The photographer says to John, you know, you could find work in the underground adult film business. Gave him his cards. Presumably, he's clocked the ginormous penis.
I'd have been like, eyes front, mate. Come on. We're not all in here to stare at each other's junk, are we?
I bet people do. I mean, I don't know. But the temptation, come on.
Do you know what? I couldn't cope with any urinal. Like, you just stood next to someone just openly pissing, aren't you? Like, in cubicles, at least there's sort of something between you. What I mean is, it's just you're so close you could get splashed.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not for me. I like a cubicle. I like a sit down, if I'm honest.
I think a lot of men, they say it's a treat, don't they, for a sit down week?
But you're right, standing up, it's just, no.
No, exactly. No, thanks.
Anyway, John started doing some nude modelling and the occasional stag film, which apparently is a film where women perform sex acts on men.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
And then his career took off in 1971 with an adult film series about a private investigator called Johnny Wad.
So he's a private investigator and they didn't go with the very obvious private dick.
Oh, yeah, they've missed a trick there, haven't they?
Johnny Wad?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if they're in the rest of the world, but like a wad is like a wad of cash, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really know what that's got to do with
I don't know.
anything.
That is around the time when porn became more mainstream. So films like Deep Throat, even I've heard of that. That was in 1972. So he's kind of hit the scene at the right time. So it's becoming a lot more popular. And he is a lively character. So he was arrested for pimping and pandering around that time. So pimping.
I'm sorry. What is pandering?
Wow. Pimping deals with the issue of somebody receiving the earnings of a prostitute. We all know what that is, yeah? Pandering laws deals with the issue of somebody persuading another person to either become or remain a prostitute. So it's not about receiving money. That's not normally a factor in a pandering crime. It's almost like coercion. You're coercing somebody into becoming a prostitute.
Into sex work, but that seems really odd if you're not getting any sort of financial gain as to why that would be that crime.
I guess maybe the two have to go together. I don't know.
Pimping and pandering.
Now he avoided prison by becoming an informant for the LA police. Remember, this is the 70s. Things were done very differently back then. So he's obviously done a deal and they've said, let you off prison if you tell us everything you know about pimping and pandering, I guess.
Goodness me, it must have been a big business.
By the late 70s, John's earning up to $3,000 a day for his porn performances, but developed a cocaine addiction, and that is affecting his work. Can't maintain an erection. So to support...
No, he needs a fluffer.
Oh, God, but that is a lot to ask.
A team of fluffers.
With a cocaine addiction, though. Imagine being that fluffer that's constantly trying to get him erect and nothing's working. The stress.
Yeah, you would feel like there's a lot of weight on your shoulders, wouldn't you? Just
I think you just feel like I just can't. I'm just not a good fluffer anymore.
Yeah, I'm failing. I'm going to leave the industry.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find someone else to do. So he, to support his drug habit, ventures into crime, selling drugs for gangs, prostituting himself to men and women, credit card fraud, don't even know what that is, credit card fraud. And in the mid-70s, he groomed and abused a 15-year-old girl, forcing her into prostitution and beating her. There is a reason why I'm telling you all of this, by the way. We'll find out later on.
Is it to do with HIV?
Yeah, he contracts HIV. That's further down the line. So despite all of this, there's still interest in him. We'll just go over those again, because I think, it's easy to brush over it, isn't it? So he is selling drugs for gangs, prostituting himself to men and women, credit card fraud, and he's grooming and abusing a 15-year-old girl. Now, in my book, call me old-fashioned, but that is quite serious offences.
Yeah. And the police still just not that bothered as long as he's, telling them everything.
Well, I think he's kind of getting away with it. Yeah. I mean, he's an informant for the police anyway. But I think the point for me is that despite all of that, he's still used within the porn industry. He's still a big
Yes.
star.
Yeah. No, I see your point.
There's a documentary in 1981, and it said Exhausted, John C. Holmes, the real story. It's got an interview segment with him where he claims he slept with 14,000 women. Now, he later admit that he just plucked that figure out of the air and that he did it to improve his public image, which by this point was obviously waning because of all the illegal activity.
That wouldn't make me like him more.
It certainly wouldn't. It wouldn't make me like him more. But the fact that he's saying this, somebody's obviously loving it. And yet his career continues. So there's a film in 1983 called The Private Pleasures of John C. Holmes. It's a gay film, but it's still trading on his name. And he's also, he did some loops, they call them, short films of him having anal sex with men. And you think, I mean, is there anything that he could do to...
Do we know why he was so untouchable? Or people just didn't seem to care about all these other crimes? They just kept using him?
I think because he sold films.
His enormous penis, I suppose. That's the key, isn't it? To being forgiven for everything.
Yes, there it is. But I think you're right. I think it is. It's the fact that he does have an enormous penis and that's what sells films. Anyway, I mean, it goes on. He is a lively character and he gets himself into more trouble. He is associated with the Wonderland murders.
Oh, I know about these. I've been listening to a podcast about the Wonderland murders.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. For anyone who doesn't have an obsession with true crime...
Why don't you? is the first question.
In the very early 80s, there was a drug gang called the Wonderland Gang, and they deal in cocaine to fund their hair. They deal in cocaine.
Their hairdo, Sarah, did you say? Their
heroin addiction. This is why we could never do a true crime podcast. It would just be horrendous. So they deal in cocaine to fund their heroin addiction. John regularly sold drugs for the gang, but he was also helping himself to the drugs that he was selling. And he finds himself falling out of favour with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. He's just stealing from them, basically.
Yeah. So in order to kind of gain favour, he tells two of the gang about a large stash of drugs, money and jewellery that another drug dealer has at his house. And he helps them set up what they call a home invasion and armed robbery. I mean, a home invasion. I mean, you're just breaking and entering. Now, John wasn't present at the robbery, but the guy whose house it was, his name's Eddie, suspected he was involved. Eddie forces John to confess. He basically threatens him and his family with their lives and then sends enforcers with John to get revenge on the Wonderland gang.
Oh my God, this got dark.
Exactly. You're just researching a porn podcast and all of this comes up. It's like, now I've started looking at it. I can't stop. I need to know what happened. On the 1st of July, 4 of the gang members were found murdered and a 5th had been severely beaten. John was allegedly present during the murders and left a palm print on one of the victims' headboard, but there wasn't proof that he'd actually killed anyone. He was questioned by the police, but released due to lack of evidence. He's got a lucky charm on him, this guy.
He's a slippery character, isn't he?
Yeah. Having been released, he refused to cooperate in the investigation. And essentially, he went on the run because the investigation carries on. And he must have been concerned that he was going to be named by other people. So he goes on the run for 5 months. Eventually, they catch up with him and he is charged with murder ×4. Fair enough. After a 3-week trial, he's acquitted of murder. See?
I feel like, does he have some sort of like insider knowledge of some like bigwigs in the area? Because that's how this feels.
Yeah. I mean, he is charged with contempt of court. I mean, that's minor compared to murder. And he did go to prison for it, but he didn't go to prison for long. And upon release, he resumes his porn career.
I mean, he feels a bit untouchable at this point.
I'd agree with you. I mean, by now, there is a new generation of porn stars to work with. And he's still addicted to drugs, but he's doing cameos rather than being the star of the show. But honestly, after all of that, he's still being offered work.
Do you think people looked at him like a bit of a legend, like a rebel, because he'd done all this stuff?
Yeah.
Is that the draw?
I've given up on the porn industry by this stage. I'm like, I mean, what do people have to do to never work again? You know, he's got a list of crimes. As long as your arm is being in prison, and it's still like, no, come back. I just don't understand it.
Maybe though it was free publicity. You're in the paper. I don't know if it was like it is now, but you know, if this happened sort of present day, you'd be all over the paper, wouldn't you? And then if you went on to star in something, that would be all over the papers.
Yeah, maybe it is free publicity. I don't know. Where are we now? February 1986 by this point, and he's diagnosed with HIV. His wife, he does have a wife. I know.
Where's she been in all of this?
She's a very understanding woman. During all of this, she's very quick to ensure everyone knows that he isn't an intravenous drug user, so he couldn't have caught HIV that way. But it's not clear whether he contracted from his work.
Right, okay, so yeah, they have no...
No.
I feel like all of his life should have been the Great Porn Scandal, rather than what we learned about before, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. Even though he's diagnosed, still appears in films. He's offered a lucrative deal with the production company. They are unaware he's tested positive. He's in no rush to tell them. And only later was it revealed that he had consciously chosen not to reveal his HIV status to his co-stars before engaging in unprotected sex with them on set. I don't know if any of them subsequently tested positive themselves, but they do know that he kept his HIV status to himself. His health does start to fail, and he tells the press he has colon cancer. A year later, he remarries. Okay, so his wife's had enough by now. She's seen sense.
Yeah.
And he does reveal his AIDS diagnosis to his new wife. By then, he does have AIDS. And on the 13th of March, 1988, he dies from AIDS-related complications.
What a life, though. Jeez.
I know, to get to that point. And Wikipedia is keen for us to know that he wasn't all bad, because I think we're both on the same page here. Where we're like,
I mean, I don't know what they've got to say that can sort of pull it back from all of this.
Oh, let's see. Let's see if these things persuade you.
Okay.
So they say he was involved with Greenpeace.
No, not persuaded.
And campaigned for Save the Whales and Save the Seals.
No. I mean, I like those campaigns, just it's not winning me over to him.
Okay, well, let's see if your hobbies, his hobbies, your hobbies, his hobbies, maybe that will win you over.
Okay.
Clay sculpting?
No.
Woodwork?
No.
Okay.
Does it seriously list these things?
Yes.
My God. Who wrote this? Who wrote this Wikipedia entry?
In an attempt to kind of win people back. I feel like they got to the end of his life story and went, oh, crikey, need to bring him back, make people like him again. He was, yes, very keen on woodwork.
Ridiculous. Well, I mean, you like woodwork, don't you?
Yes, I do. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I do not like murder.
Exactly. You don't like murder, pimping and pandering. You're not using your woodwork, is what I'm saying, to try to redeem yourself, are you?
No, I am not.
And that isn't why you should have hobbies, to use them for redemption.
Nor why you should support excellent campaigns. Such an awful thing to do, isn't it? Yes, I've murdered people and intimidated people and prostituted people, but very into saving the seals.
Well, exactly. I've also possibly infected other people with HIV because I'm having sex with them unprotected without actually telling them. But again, I don't know if you heard, Greenpeace and me, we are like that. Like, no, mate, no.
It's just so weird, isn't it? And I mean, like we've said, he is quite a character, and that is putting it politely. And I think we should mention some of the things on Wikipedia that aren't true, because John was very good at exaggerating the truth. Exaggerating the truth or just telling blatant lies? Let's see. I've got some of them here because we can set the record straight, right?
Okay.
One of his claims was that he had degrees in physical therapy, medicine, and political science. Not true.
Why would he say that?
To make himself appear.
But I don't believe him. Pick one. 2 at a push. Like, you're not going to have that many degrees.
No, I know. There's other things that were said about him. I don't think this came from him. This is an urban myth. But the myth is that he inadvertently killed 2 male performers whilst filming a gay feature film. During the trial, he was told by a judge to abstain from anal sex. So I think the implication is that he had such a large penis that he killed somebody, 2 men with it.
He said that.
I don't know if that came from him or whether that was an urban myth that he has done nothing to dispel.
I suppose you could get really bad internal injuries, couldn't you, from something like that? Wow.
Would the judge having listened to those cases of 2 male performers that have been killed, tell him, do you know what you need to do? Just stop having anal sex.
Who wrote this Wikipedia page? We're probably going to get some real hate mail now about it, aren't we?
Oh, no.
And the person that was like, actually, I did that. Like some distant relative, and we'll be like, oh no.
Do you want to know my favourite claim?
Go on.
He told penis.
Amazing. He told penises. He was like a penis charmer, like a snake charmer, but for penises.
He told people his penis was so big that he had to stop wearing underwear because, and I quote, I was getting erections and snapping the elastic waistband 4 or 5 times a month.
No, absolutely not. But what I'd love to do is test it out by buying some men's underpants and then we see how far we can pull them, because that is a ridiculous claim.
This is why I find it funny, because of all the claims that you could make about your enormous penis, snapping the elastic on your pants isn't the one, is it?
No.
He said, I don't know, my penis is so large that every time I get an erection, I find myself staring into my own urethra like it's a telescope. That sounds pretty...
Where were you? Start giving the tips to the Wikipedia page, Sarah, of the crazy claims.
But that's like quite a claim, isn't it? Yeah. Snapping your knicker elastic, that is not impressive.
I feel like he just said whatever. To me, it sounds a bit like, someone's just knee jerk. It's just whatever's the first thing he thinks of. Oh, she's so massive, I just snap my underpants 5 times a day. Like,
who's reading that or hearing that and going, oh, God, I love him.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Craziness.
It's just so stupid. I mean, that is the lowdown on the porn industry, American porn industry. Most famous star who passed away from AIDS. Every time we talk about someone dying, we've always had a moment before and it just comes across as really insincere.
No, we're not insincere. We didn't make those claims.
No, and it's important that we, put them right.
Exactly. Well, this has been a really good mini-series. Thank you very much for your research.
Do you know what, though? I've realised, well, because I am that stupid, the American porn industry, it's just made by men for men, isn't it?
I feel like that's just called life, Sarah, and the world and the universe. Do you know what I mean? Everything made by men for men.
But there's no porn for women. There's no woman. Well, maybe there are. Maybe I've just not met them. I don't know any women that think, right, do you know what I'd like to do today is watch a porn film and I'd like to see a woman have 10 men ejaculate into her face and then she looks like she's got jizzy measles. Nobody's saying that, are they?
Oh, no women want to see that.
I feel like there's a gap in the market. We should look at how we should do women's porn.
I bet there is on OnlyFans. Just add it to the OnlyFans list, Sarah.
But I don't know what it would be.
Oh no, so it's not porn, but we're much more. We just need more of a build-up, don't we? We're more about the suggestion than the wang it out and let's fucking go. Like,
I don't know. I feel I need realism, Jess. I want to see Trevor and Susan in bed. Susan saying to Trevor, if you jab that into my thigh one more time, I'm going to lose my with you. Tonight is not the night. And we're not doing it. It's too hot. And if you continue to refer to your penis as Trevor Longcock, we're getting divorced.
Trevor Longcock, I love that. I mean, I don't know. I guess a lot of women went nuts for their 50 Shades stuff, didn't they?
Oh, God, did you read those books?
No, I didn't even watch the film. It's not for me.
I mean, I have seen one of the films. I think I saw the first one and I've read the books. All right. Again, it's about the man and he's coercing her into doing things for him that she's never done before and isn't very keen on. The whole of the first book is about the bloody contract that he's drawn up for her and how she's not sure if she wants to sign it.
Well, you are right. The irony is the entire thing is centered around a man, isn't it?
Maybe we should do our own film around a female dominatrix, because there are female dominatrix, aren't there? And
we've already got a name, haven't we? The Kraken.
Oh,
right. Just saying it could be a film, but not based on my vagina, but we could call it The Kraken, and it could be maybe part horror, part true crime, part porn. What do you think?
Oh, gosh. Will that appeal to women?
Well, it might. Talking about things that appeal to you, Sarah.
Yes.
A while ago, remember I challenged you and I said, oh, God, I wonder if you can, find a link to HIV and chocolate. You only went and did that, didn't you?
I stepped up to the game, Jess. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And that's our next episode.
I literally can't wait. You were like, absolutely, there has to be a linkage between HIV and chocolate. And here we go.
Yes. Now you've got a week, because we're not recording this till next week, a week to get the sponsorship from Cadbury's.
Okay. Again, every episode that we mention Cadbury's, we also mention, you literally talked about ejaculating on someone's face like gross measles.
Oh,
I just feel it's not the sort of image that Cadbury might be going for.
I mean, that's a fair point. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, look, you're in charge of sponsorship. You engage with them. Don't obviously reference this episode.
Oh, I'm gonna try and get sponsorship from like one of those places that makes like those chocolate penises and the chocolate boobs. It's better than nothing.
And then we also need to find some men's underpants and see how much tension they have in them. Thanks for listening to the HIV podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like, rate and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
You can now also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the HIV Podcast for behind the scenes insights and video. The HIV Podcast is produced by Thames Valley Positive Support.